Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday morning, October the 22nd, 2022. This is Connie Regularly in Tennessee. And first of all, I'm just going to say that you have kind of seen me and not seen me and seen me and not seen me. It's been kind of crazy because I have been facing so many challenges from being silenced. Every time I turn around, a court is trying to gag me, shut me up, threaten me, charge me with a crime, right? So it's been quite challenging. But I am going to get back on. I have so much to teach you about, so much to keep you up to date about. You have no idea how hard I am working behind the scenes. Okay. So, I want to talk to you this morning, though, particularly to my Tennessee friends. And even if you're not in Tennessee, living there, if you know anybody in the state of Tennessee, I really need you to pay attention, share this, share shame Tennessee. We need to do some shaming, public shaming, because this is crazy what we're about to talk about. So, what I'm going to talk to you about today is four constitutional amendments that are coming up on the ballot on November the 8th. All right. So, there are four things. Now, I'm going to talk to you about constitutional amendments. First of all, Tennessee really has a really good constitution. Our Article 1, all of the personal rights that are set forth in Article 1 are really strong. In addition, the Tennessee Constitution specifically says that there's a fourth branch of government in Tennessee, and that is the people. And so, it's something that I have yacked about and yacked about and yacked about for years. And of course, I need to get more people to be involved in that process, right? So, y'all need to join me, help me, make some phone calls, whatever. Okay, so listen. So, we have coming up four constitutional amendments. Now, I want to take you back historically for just a moment to 2014. So, in 2014, Tennessee wanted to do some constitutional amendments, and this is before, honestly, we had as much social media going on, right? It's just exploded over the past 6 years. I think everybody can agree on that. The good news is you get to hear the voice of people who have knowledge who may not be main media people. This is so important, and it's such a challenge for us and somebody like me to want to try to share that information from you and then get so much hits and retaliation. But you know what? We're going to work through all of that. So back in 2014, I had raised an issue about a constitutional amendment that they were trying to do. So, Article 6 of the Tennessee Constitution talks about judges. And under Article 6 of the Tennessee Constitution, there's two things that I thought were incredibly important. And one of them was that the Supreme Court would be elected by the general population. All right. So, we have what, six Supreme Court justices. I'm my brain is going two, right? So if I get some little fact wrong, don't go fact checking me. All right, because here's the point. The point is that under the Constitution, we were supposed to elect them. We have three grand divisions in Tennessee: the East, the Middle, and the West. And we were supposed to, within our grand division, which I'm in the Middle Grand Division, be able to elect the Supreme Court justices that would come from our grand division. What they had done for years is they had jerry-rigged this, and they had appointed the judges, and then they had put them on the ballot merely as a replace or retain ballot. And there's somebody prior to me, God rest his soul, he's now passed, but he started raising Cain about it. And he said, retain, replace is not a election. So I kind of joined forces with him. We started talking about it. And what do you know? The Tennessee General Assembly put forward a constitutional amendment that said that it took away our right to vote. And these are Republicans, by the way. It took away our right to vote and said that it would be retain, replace every 8 years. And so this goes. So what happens is it has to be 2/3 of the General Assembly to get it on the ballot. And then it has to be on a ballot where there's a governor's race. And then 50% of the people who vote for the governor, and there's a little bit of a question here, is it 50% of the people who vote in the governor's race, which would be the entire ballot, or is it 50% of the people who actually vote on that for the governor, right? Because sometimes in the last case we were like, well, just don't vote for governor, right? I don't remember why, but so what happened was the Tennessee judicial branch raised $500,000, nearly $500,000 in to promote people to vote, to take away their right to vote. And these were, there were billboards up. I remember them that were from comments from the Tennessee Supreme Court justices. And then they went around to all these conservative groups and say, look, we don't want our judicial branch to be influenced by out-of-state money. So we need to be appointing. And I was like, no, 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 because you know it's going to be political. And, you know, that's what happens when we have appointed judges. And the way all of our state and local courts run is that they are elected for an 8-year term. And here's what happens. You cannot run against a sitting judge if you're an attorney. Look what they did to me. I mean, they came after me full force when I ran against a sitting juvenile court judge. They actually criminalized me. But here's how they lay that down. A judge runs a couple, 2 or 3 terms of 8 years, and then a couple years before, sometimes just 1 term, and a couple years before the election, they'll step down, they'll resign. The new judge, a temporary judge, gets appointed, and then in the election, nobody will run against him. I only can think of myself one time when somebody actually ran against the sitting judge. I'm going to look at just a couple of notes we have here. Carla, why do we pay public servants to make Yeah, exactly, Carla. That's going to be my point as I continue. All right, so let me tell you about this year's 2022 constitutional amendments in the state of Tennessee. Okay, critical. This is so critical. All right, are you ready? There are 4. Now remember, our conservative Tennessee General Assembly, our conservative state, who was 67% for Trump, our conservative, and probably higher if the elections didn't get screwed up in some places, our conservative state has put these amendments on the ballot. Okay, we have 99 representatives. We have 22 senators. It had to be a 2/3 vote. Okay, hello, Bia. All right, so let me tell you what they are. All right, so the first one, and if I have problems reading, y'all just hang in there with me, okay? I had a real challenge this morning. I was rushing around, but you know what? I'm like, I got to talk to these people. I got to talk to y'all. Okay, are we ready? Teeny tiny print here. I printed it up and you can see it's like the smallest print ever. All right, now, number 1. Okay, I'm going to try to go through these. Hang in there with me. If you can't stay, hang in there with me. This is being broadcast on my YouTube channel. It's being broadcast on LinkedIn. It's being broadcast on 2 Facebook profiles, my personal profile and my Connie Regularly Family Advocacy. Oops, I think it's not on LinkedIn. So it's going to be on 2 different profiles on Facebook and then my YouTube channel, which is under Connie Regularly. All right, so this amendment, this is the first one. It would add a section under Article 11 of the Tennessee Constitution to make it illegal for any person, corporation, association, or the state of Tennessee or its political subdivisions to deny or attempt to deny employment to any person because of a person's membership, affiliation, resignation from, refusal to join, or affiliate with any labor union or employee organization. Okay, so Tennessee has long been a right to work state, which means that you cannot be denied employment because you refuse to join a labor union. Now, there are massive things going on in the state of Tennessee. Automotive industry, of course, moved down here several years ago. We have a huge new automotive plant moving in West Tennessee. If you could see downtown Nashville, I mean, it is construction crane, construction crane, construction crane all over the place. It is growing like crazy. Nashville has made itself a destination city, which unfortunately for me means that when I travel, my ticket from someplace else to Tennessee is like triple the cost for me to get to the location. I recently was trying to book flights to go to Pennsylvania and Minnesota, and my trip there was only a couple $100, but my trip back to Tennessee was like $450. So it's made itself this massive destination city. Construction is going crazy. All kinds of crazy things are going on. So this is a constitutional amendment, number one, to prevent labor unions from taking over. Now, labor unions mean not only what you would think of as far as truckers, construction, pipe fitters, etc. It also includes teachers. It also includes civil employees. It includes certain types of medical services. Okay. Now, but this also says or employee organization. Okay, so I don't know. This has some other ramifications. I haven't really studied this. This is not the most important one. This is not the most important one to me. I want to move on to the two. Two of them are super critical. Okay, are you ready? So let's move on to Constitution Amendment 2. So this amendment would add to Article 3, Section 12 of the Tennessee Constitution, listen carefully, a process for the temporary exercise of power and duties of the governor by the Speaker of the Senate, who would be Jack Johnson in our state, or the Speaker of the House, who would be Cameron Sexton, if there is no Speaker of the Senate in office, when the governor is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office of governor. While a speaker is temporarily discharging powers and duties of the governor, the speaker would not be required to resign as speaker or resign as a member of the legislature. For all my constitutional people, you should be going like, red light, red light, red light, right? Big problem right there. Let's keep going. So it's called separation of powers. Hang on here. Or speaker, member of the legislature. Okay, lost my place. A speaker who is temporarily discharging the powers and duties of the governor would not get the governor's salary, but would get the speaker's salary, which is a lot to a little, right? The governor gets a lot. Our legislators who are part-time legislators don't really get a lot of money for the role that they play. Of course, we know they get all kinds of other benefits and lobby benefits, etc. The amendment would also exempt a speaker who is temporarily discharging the powers and duties of the governor from provisions in the Constitution that would otherwise prohibit the speaker from enacting the powers of the governor or simultaneously holding more than one state office. Okay, so do you understand that sentence? What that sentence is saying is that this constitutional amendment overrides separation of powers. Okay, do you understand that? It overrides separation of powers. It allows a Speaker of the Senate to serve as a Speaker of the Senate as well as a member of the legislature. Okay, and it says specifically in here, because whoever wrote this, of course, it goes through legal and then everybody has to read it, but they knew this was a problem. Okay, so do you understand? It is no on Amendment 2. Okay, let me just say that flat out one more time, because I'm going to be sharing this to some of the conservative groups in the state of Tennessee. It is no on Amendment 2. Got that? No on Amendment 2. Good Lord. Okay, now let me go on, because that's not all of it. Let me tell you how we get there. This is really scary. All right. Oh gosh, when the governor transmits to the Secretary of State, the Speaker of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House as a written signed declaration that the governor is unable to discharge the powers and the duties of the office, the powers and duties of the office of the governor shall be temporarily discharged to the Speaker of the Senate as acting governor, or if that office is unoccupied, then by the Speaker of the House of Representatives as acting governor, until the governor transmits to the Senate office a written signed declaration that the governor is able to discharge his duties in the office. Okay, so number one, the governor can decide himself that he's not able to discharge his duties and assign the Speaker of the Senate those duties. Okay, got that? Let's go on. Listen to me, listen to this. When the majority of the commissioners of the administrative departments of the executive department transmits to the Secretary of the State, the Speaker of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives by their written signed declaration that the governor is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office, the Speaker of the Senate shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting governor, or if that office is unoccupied, the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the acting governor until the governor transmits to the same officials a written signed declaration that the governor is able to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Okay, now what's wrong with this? Okay, does anybody see any problems with this? All right, so first of all, I'm going to tell you that commissioners, even though we're a red state, commissioners have had a tendency to be selected by the governor that are Democrats. Okay, I'm going to give a really good example. The commissioner of the Department of Education in Tennessee, Penny Schwinn, comes from California, works for Dianne Feinstein. Okay, nobody cares. Nobody, all of the Tennessee Republicans and Republican parties out there, they're like, oh, well, governor gets to pick. He has that discretion, right? Penny Schwinn. During the pandemic, all kinds of problems with Penny Schwinn. All right. She's even the one who basically said during the pandemic, they wanted government officials to start going out and knocking on the doors of the homes and making sure that the children were okay. All right. Penny Schwinn. We had Commissioner Nichols, Jennifer Nichols with DCS, who said she was a Republican. However, she's West Memphis. She's a prosecutor. She did run for judge out there on the Republican ticket and lost. But the commissioners, just like most bureaucrats, even if there is a Republican on office, those agencies are primarily Democrat and liberal, all right, because there are thousands of people who work for the government. For instance, Tennessee Department of Children's Services employs 3,900 people, and that's one of the medium-sized agencies, okay? That's not the biggest, not the smallest, but it has 3,900 employees. How many of those employees are in a supervisory position? How many of those employees have influence over the commissioner? How many of those employees vote Democrat? A lot of them. Okay, so we have, and in Tennessee, we have the excuse me, the state has 40 agencies, such as the Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Children's Services, Department of Health, Department of Developmental Disabilities, Mental Health, and Substance Abuse. Let's see, Department of Commerce, right? Department of, let me think, Transportation. I think I said that one. Yeah, I think I said that one already. Anyway, there are 40 of them. I can't think of all of them at the top of my head. I did a whole video on that. So there are 40 different commissioners. And what it says in here is that if a majority of those commissioners, which means 21, if 21 of those commissioners, now also remember, these agencies are not equally seated. Okay, some of them, if you look at the budget, and I'll do the budget for you at some point, if you do the budget, you will see like some agencies are huge, right? Honestly, the Department of Health is the biggest agency there is, the biggest part of the budget. And then I think, you've got Department of Transportation, you've got Department of Corrections, Department of Children's Services. All those agencies are kind of on non-equal footing. Okay, so it only takes 21 of those agencies, those commissioners, to sign a declaration that says the governor cannot perform his duties. Okay, that they can kick the governor out of his seat. Now, how does he get back in his seat? By this constitutional amendment, is then the governor writes a declaration and says, no, I'm capable of doing the duties of governor, right? So what is this about, right? What is this about? Do you even get that? 21 of the, and so what? The next day, 21 of the commissioners sign another declaration. And here's the thing. When those 21 commissioners sign that declaration, it becomes effective immediately. Okay, so can anybody say due process? Can we say due process around here? All right, so we've got a separation of powers doctrine. We've got a due process issue. We have got unelected bureaucrats who have the power to unseat a governor. Do you get it? Do you get that? Please pass this around. This is no on Amendment 2. I don't know how many ways I can say that. No on Amendment 2. I don't know who thought this up. It is the screwiest thing I've ever heard of. There is a separation of powers issue. There is a constitutional amendment that's trying to usurp another part of the Constitution specifically, and even says that it is doing so. And there's no due process. And you create a battlefield between the governor and the agencies. And just think, if they're now, here's the other thing. You know what? The governor can fire the commissioners at his discretion. All right. So think of the battlefield this could go. Now, this is so important that and the underlying thing here I want to express is that Tennessee is a red state. And I'm unabashedly conservative. However, I'm a social justice, human rights conservative. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in due process. I believe in people being treated fairly, right? And so, and of course, I've seen, my fight for other people led to me being criminalized. It wasn't about me. It's never been about me. But they wanted to put me in a position where I had to defend myself, right? Okay, so no on Amendment 2. Please pass this around. No on Amendment 2. No, 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 no. That's it. Okay, no. All right, now let's look at Amendment 3. All right, so Amendment 3. So this amendment would change the current language of Article 1, Section 33. Now, Article 1 are the individual rights. Okay? So it says, listen carefully. Listen carefully. Please listen carefully. Would change Article 1, Section 33 of the Tennessee Constitution, which says that slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a person who has been duly convicted of a crime, are forever prohibited in this state. The amendment would delete the current language and replace it with the following: slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited. Nothing in this section shall prohibit an inmate from working when an inmate has been duly convicted of a crime. And here is the language. Section 33 says, again, I just said it, I'm going to say it again. Slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited. Of course, forever. What does forever mean? Until the next constitutional amendment, right? Forever is not forever. Nothing is forever, okay? Human rights apparently are not even forever. Slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited. Nothing in this section shall prohibit an inmate from working where the inmate has been duly convicted of a crime. Okay, so what is this, guys? Do you understand what this is? Do you understand what this is? This is slavery. Okay, this is involuntary servitude. It is slavery. And let's talk about that. Now, I'm going to jump back to me for just a minute. Most of you know. If you don't, I'm going to tell you some more about it. I've been on several blogs and podcasts, but they convicted me of a felony by changing the law. District Attorney Kim Helper changed the law in her indictment. And then when our attorneys brought it to the attention of Judge Joseph A. Woodruff, who should be a constitutionalist because he holds himself as a Republican and should know that you have to include the elements of the crime in the jury instructions, he said, no. I'm going to change the jury instructions, change the Tennessee pattern in jury instructions. 3 years after the fact, mind you. This is clearly unconstitutional. Because he was able to do that, and he just did it because he wanted to incarcerate me. Yes, D.A. Kim Helper. Judge Joseph A. Woodruff, Woodruff, in case anybody wants to know. You can look him up. We've done plenty of stories about him. So then they were able, because he changed the statute, he was able to have me convicted. Now, this is on appeal. All right. I'm going to tell you just briefly that a case of a similar issue has already gone to the United States Supreme Court in Arthur Anderson case, United States v. Arthur L. Anderson, or vice versa. It's just 2015. It's not that long ago, but it's a case out of Texas where Arthur Anderson employees and the corporation were charged with criminal conduct because of the destruction of records before they had official notice that there was an FBI investigation. The DA and the judge changed the jury instructions as to the mental intent, and they got convicted. These people got convicted, were thrown in jail. It goes all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court kicked it all out, reversed the whole thing. So this is an issue where a judge and a DA change the jury instructions. It is absolutely a constitutional violation. Most of you have heard about ex post facto laws, right? Which means that you cannot, Congress and the state legislators cannot create a new law and make it retroactively effective. That's called an ex post facto law. All right. They did this for a long time, right? They did this in England. They did it in France, right? They'd create a law and they'd say, well, you broke the law. And they're like, well, you just made the law. And there's like, it doesn't matter, right? So this is an ex post facto law. Okay. So also it has already been to the United States Supreme Court that a judge, it's called an ex post facto judicial determination, which criminalizes conduct that would not otherwise be criminal. All right. And so that is what has occurred. All right. So I am a convict. I'm a prisoner. Now, this Judge Woodruff, I'm just going to throw this in there. Just a month before my trial, a little more than a month, 2 months maybe, he recused himself from the case. And then he came and sat in the courtroom during my trial within the line of sight of the newly appointed judge, and for the sentencing hearing. And then for the sentencing hearing on my case, guess who also showed up? Kim Helper, the DA, and Sean Duddy, who's another drug task force DA. Why would they be worried about me? And then Judge Joseph Woodruff, a lot of other people too. I'm not going to get into that right now. All right, but let's talk about this involuntary servitude. Why do I care? Well, of course, my 30 days, I guess they could put me to work. I don't know what they'd make me do. I'm more worried that they'd try to poison me. And I'm going to say that out loud again. I'm more concerned that they would try to poison me. But prison population. So what does that give you with a prison population? It gives you free labor. What are those prisoners going to be doing? What is the work they're going to be doing, I wonder? Who can use those prisoners for employment? What do you think? What do you think? So let's look. Here is, I'm just going to share some of the stats from you here. And this is a report. This is produced by, it's produced by an organization, the Incarceration in Local Jails and State Prisons. And it is very detailed, but I am going to tell you that the stats show, let's talk about how many people are in prisons. In the state of Tennessee, 40, oh no, that was 2015. Okay, this is important. From 1983 to 2015, okay, so that is 83, 90, so that is 30 years, but there was a 242% increase in the prison population. Well, what other things happened in 1983? We got private prisons, right? We got private for-profit prisons. Hello, CCA, Corrections Corporation of America, who is now CoreCivic. CoreCivic gives a lot of money for lobbying for to legislators. You know, I hate to call you out, but I know you're out there. I know Marcia. I know our senators. You know, Bill. I know you guys get huge chunks of money from CoreCivic. Okay, but please, please, please do the right thing for the people. Okay, CoreCivic will have the opportunity to house prisoners and use them for slave labor. It does not say in this constitutional amendment, it does not prohibit the person who is holding and forcing that labor. It does not prohibit them from actually charging for those services to somebody else, right? So you can contract out your slave labor, your labor from your prisons. This happened before. This is not new, okay? So there are factories around the prisons. They can send prisoners to the factories, have the factories pay whoever owns a prison. Is that not slavery? Is that not slavery? All right, so let's look at the population in the prisons. Let me give you, this is actually a little bit, this is not even totally current. This is 2015, right? This is 2015. There is 534 between 2005 and 2015. That's 10 years. Okay, let me share this with you. Claiborne County. Okay, so Claiborne County is in northeastern Tennessee, right on the Kentucky border. They had a 534% increase in prisoners in Claiborne County. And you know what? I bet if we looked around, there's probably a private prison. Well, I know there's a private prison over there in East Tennessee. All right, and then the top counties, let's see, jail admissions, prison admissions. So the top jail now, and it also doesn't say, now it doesn't say misdemeanors or felonies either, so keep that in mind. So this is it could be if you get convicted of a DUI or a shoplifting charge, they can force you to work and make money off of you. This is not just hardcore felons. As a matter of fact, they probably will not take the hardcore felons and put them in the population of the general population where there's no security and put them to work. They will take the guys who've been arrested, well, drugs, they'll probably take some drug criminals. They'll take all kinds of felonies, forgeries, thefts, carjackings. They'll take all those guys and put them to work, and then the private prisons can make that money. Do not be deceived here. It sounds innocuous to you. There is so much behind this. All right, let me see what I also wanted to share with you on this is, okay, so I have the jail report. So you can also pull off the jail reports. This is, I have a jail report. I just pulled off a couple here. I pulled off the 2019 and the 2022. All right, you see that? What's most important is I think, you know, you should know, it tells you, this gets back to me. Here's another, wait a minute, maybe if it has it on here. Maybe it doesn't have it on here. Oh, no, it doesn't have it on this report. There's another report, a DA's report I pulled. I'm going to share it with you. And basically what they charge me with, custodial interference. They don't even report that, okay? They don't even report that in the DA's conference. Right? I mean, it's like Kim Helper should get an award. She's probably got the only conviction for custodial interference this year. All right, but here's what I wanted to talk about, which is the population. Let's see if I can get the population. This is the Tennessee Department of Corrections. So even if you're in a private prison, you are still under the statistical reports of the Tennessee Department of Corrections. And this has all the counties. Let me see if it gives me some totals here. Well, interestingly enough, now I was a DA a long time ago. Back when I first got out of law school, I worked in the district attorney's office in Davidson County. And it was so weird. It was so, I mean, I went back to law school late in life. It was a second, third career for me. I got this job in the DA's office because I really needed some hardcore fast experience. And I knew there in a large DA's office with 50 attorneys, I would be thrown in right away. And so I go to a meeting, and the first annual meeting I went to, and we're measuring our success by jail days. And we're looking at the number of jail days versus the number of vacant beds in the prison and jail system. I'm like, this is so weird. This is like our whole motivation was to keep the prisons full, right? We wanted to keep the prisons full. All right, so let me see. This is a report, TDOC backup, pretrial detainees. All right, so total jail population. Okay, so this shows the total jail population is 25,646, but that does not include prison population. Okay, hang on. TDOC back up, local felons, federal, and okay, so we have federal and others, misdemeanors, pretrial felony, pretrial misdemeanor, total jail population, total beds, vacant beds, percent capacity. Okay, so all right, so it looks like at the end of vacant bed, special report. Okay, so total offenders focused in at capacity, vacant bed count or more. Okay, so we had about 25, almost 26,000 people in prison, pretty much, kind of throughout the year. So, you know what? That's 26,000 free employees. Now, some of those are pretrial detainees, and they would not be able to be used because they would not be a duly convicted. And what does duly mean anyway, right? Does that mean that your constitutional rights are not violated? So we would have all of those free labor, free labor. Now, I could also go in to the fact of the immigration detention centers. I'm not even going to go there yet because that's going to take pulling a whole nother level of research for you. But it is those and why we need immigration, no matter how they get here, right? Now this is one that is more. Let me pull this up. Here is another Tennessee profile, about the same number. This is from, what year is this? One of the hard things about the internet is it doesn't always give you the year, but this has a little chart here. It's not in color. Sorry, it's black and white, but I'm going to tell you what it says. It says that there are 30,000 in state prisons, 19,000 in local jails, and 8,100 in federal prisons, and 660 youth. Okay, so that's even a higher number, right? That's 30, 49, 57,000. So that's 57,000. And what about the federal prisons, right? It doesn't say in here whether or not they're restricted from using those in federal prison, because it just talks about if you're in Tennessee and your house as a prisoner in Tennessee, you can be used for slave labor. And then again, this is not in color. It'll be a little hard to see, but you can get the gist of it by just looking at that chart, right? Look at the increase in that. Look at that huge increase. We'll talk about that later as to why that is. Oh, so that is vote no on 3. What else can I say about that? All right, let's look at the last one and I will wrap it up for this morning. So it says here, 3, Constitutional Amendment 3. This amendment would change the current language in Article 1. Again, that is our individual rights, Article 1, Section 33. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's 3. Sorry. 4. Okay, here's 4. Amendment would delete Article 9, Section 1 of the Tennessee Constitution, which prohibits ministers of the gospel and priests of any denomination from holding a seat in either house of the legislature. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I honestly, I've tried to think of ways that this could go haywire. We do have the First Amendment and the separation of church and state, but I don't think it was ever intended in this way. So I don't know. Tennessee's a Bible Belt. We have lots of pastors here. And, sometimes I think we need more pastors instead of lawyers up in the General Assembly. So if generally, I would probably just say yes is okay. All right. So now in summary for my Tennessee people, and we'll put this back in the notes. Remember that it is yes, no, no, yes. Got that? Yes. No, no, yes. Somebody put that in the comments for me. Yes on 1, no on 2, no on 3, yes on 4. Okay. So I think that we could live with that. But listen, this is freaking slavery. This is slavery. Okay. And this whole thing about the governor and the war that this could create between the commissioners and the governor, and then this Speaker of the Senate can just like automatically become governor. And I mean, the separation of powers, and it's suspending the separation of powers doctrine. And in Tennessee, we have huge issues with the separation of powers. So that's a whole nother discussion. Okay, so you all got that? It's 39 minutes. It's 40 minutes here. I don't like to really even go quite this long, but here we are. I hope you had an opportunity to watch it. If you've skimmed through it and you've not had an opportunity to watch this video while I was doing it live, please go back to today later and listen to it. So important. We need to pay attention to what is going on, and you're going to be hearing more from me. I love you so much. Please, please, please share this. Let's defeat 2 and 3. Okay. All right. Elderly community, and they want their property. Bea, you are totally correct on that. And that's a whole nother video. Okay. We'll talk about that. And I will get back to that as well. So thank you all. I see some YouTubers. I see a few on Facebook. I will share this, share the link to LinkedIn, etc. But thank you so much. Pay attention. I'm going to be giving you even more education. All right, y'all have a good day, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.